TeamMatch011 here to continue my video presentation of the match between my video lessons group and CARPE DIEM. And this is from board 99. We have a rating advantage. Artiste 21 is our board. Low 1800s versus high 1600s. And this is a pretty quick game. Let's look through it and see what goes right and wrong. Okay, Caro Kann, very tough nut to crack. Really, there's no real way for white to get any kind of advantage in this opening. Black just equalizes. It's got a drawish reputation, but that's actually far from the truth. Usually the better player will prevail. Okay, so Bishop G5 isn't the most common line, but I think putting it on E3 is not the best square for it. A lot of times in the Caro Kann, the dark squared bishop of whites just doesn't have a good place to go. Sometimes maybe the best thing to do with it, and it doesn't work too well in this type of position, is to park it on D2, and the idea is to get it to C3, but after this pawn goes to C4, and right now this bishop is in the way. White might have just done well to have traded it here. Okay, you're giving up the bishop pair, but that's okay. You save a tempo for development, and white's going to access this E5 square promptly, and this shuts a lot of what black would like to do down. Let's see, could black play C5? Possibly. That does allow an annoying check, maybe on B5. Maybe black should castle, and white should castle. I don't know if this is book or not. I'm just looking at this. The game's even no matter how you slice it, but it seemed that the way it went, white got himself in trouble because of the position of that bishop, and we'll see why in a little bit when we get back to the main line. Now we want to try C5. Okay, fine. Just rook E1, and let's see. Black could play to try to get a long diagonal for his bishop by fianchettoing it. See, Queen C7. Okay, let's go ahead and take this, and the reason I'm taking it, I'll show you here why in a second. The way white is playing this, white's going for the long-term 3-on-2 pawn majority on the queen side. Now that's not enough to win, but it's a way to play for a passed pawn. It can give some winning chances. 3 pawns against 2. Okay, so essentially the game is even, and it's hard to get anywhere from it. But I think if white's going to commit to playing bishop G5, just trade it off because it's kind of a problem piece for white. So he goes back to E3, and we'll see what happens here in a little bit. Okay, here's a case of how here's how white could be getting that pawn up to C4. Why it might have been better going back to D2, because that bishop does get tempo back to B3. And both sides are kind of delaying castling. Maybe they're afraid of a potential pawn storm against their king. But here, white goes ahead and castles queen side. But now the weakness of this bishop is showing up. Now it's going to get traded off for a knight, but it also comes at a price that white allows. So we'll see that in a moment. Okay, now knight takes. Now, white can't take with the queen because of an annoying pin. And he can't take with the rook because of an annoying pin. Maybe it would have been better to have played king b1 in this situation. That way, the white pawn structure doesn't get damaged. But what's happening here is what I said earlier. That bishop would have been just fine traded for the knight. So now let's look at this possibility. See, bishop f4 doesn't have much sting anymore. As a matter of fact, this bishop may be getting cut off here in a moment when white gets knight e5 in. So let's hold off on that. Let's go ahead and castle white kingside just for the fun of it. And, now knight e5 comes in, and it looks like an even game. It's similar to what we had before. Certainly would have been better for white than what happened, because when he plays rook he1, he can't take. He must take with the pawn, and that weakens this g3 square, and suddenly black is just picking up a pawn, and it's not clear at all what white has in compensation for it. So black has no weaknesses in his position, none whatsoever. You could say that the pawn shield is broken on the king side, but white's in no position to exploit this. Strategically, black is pretty much has a winning game here. And now black castles, even though white has the open file. There's just not enough in here, compensation in here for white. You get on the open file, attacks the queen. Okay. So white's trying to develop some kind of pressure, but again, I don't think he has enough. And now white commits a blunder, and then black doesn't see it. Okay, king b1 is just an outright mistake. Let's see. Queen takes. Okay, pawn takes. Rook takes. Pawn takes. Okay, now let's evaluate this. How does black want to proceed? Let's see. G6, G5 are both possible. There's pressure on G2. Could take on G2 directly. Let's see. Take, and just come back and take with the rook. Black is 2 pawns ahead, and had simplifications. He's gotten the queens off the board. I guess white could try to be a nuisance over on that side of the board. Let's see. Now let's see. Check, and then we're going to go back. I don't know. Black's still a clear pawn up. Black can probably do better than what I've just showed. White got some play there. Black could, G5 does weaken H6 a bit. Probably don't want to go that route. Let's just play G6. Now there's pressure on this pawn that white needs to deal with, and I'm thinking that black is going to get C5 in and get this bishop activated. And let's see, white has 6 pawns, black has 7. There's just not, well, maybe you can try something here. Rook. Well, you don't want to give up this pawn. You can't. White can't afford to give that pawn up. He's got to protect it or advance it. Let's try advancing it. The purpose is try to restrain the pawn on H5. I don't know. Black can just come in behind it, and that's a very nice rook attacking a pawn from behind. Maybe white has to trade a set of rooks off, but that reduces his options. But I think after here, and C5, white has basically no counterplay on the D file, and black is just a clear pawn up and simplified into a very winnable ending. So, and there may be better in here for black. I mean, this seems to be winning for me. But if take your time on this, analyze it out, you might find a little more than I uncovered. That's how you start analyzing a postal chess game, correspondence chess game. You start looking at the lines and try to find improvements, and they're there. The longer you look, the deeper you go. And I'm just going into this 2 or 3 minutes. You have 3 days. Let's back up to what happened. Let's see. Find here in the PGN. So King B1, Black chose to play C5, and now it takes the heat off D2. Probably, let's see, now we're threatening a pawn, and it's pinned. Can't take because it's pinned. I guess you have to protect the queen, rook D1. And that takes the sting out of queen takes E5. But white played C3, and after he takes, he resigned. It'll be similar to what we looked at already. Let's take here. Now white or black should find this move. And see, we're going into something very similar, but there's a difference. This bishop is going to get out a little quicker. Okay, white needs to take this, and how about if we have a tempo gainer here, if we want it. Let's just push by again, and white needs to deal with this threat. It's still there. Rook back, rook takes, pawn takes, bishop c6. White should take the d file, but black's going to oppose it here soon enough. Just going forward just a little bit. How does white improve his position? I'll get this on a dark square where it's safe. But this is coming, and let's see here. Now, is there anything to be had to try to activate the rook? Comes the price of a pawn. Check. Okay. There's no way to do this sacrifice and get that pawn rolling. Come back here, and this guy's ready to run. He's going to get to G2 very easily. So taking that knight on F6 much earlier would have been better for black. Let's have a good game. Let's have a look at the other one. And Artiste 21 is white. Let me flip the board. And I saw this same formation, the same opening in another game where black is retreating the queen. And this just seems wrong. It's you're giving up tempos. White just starts building up a space advantage. And it kind of takes on, you'll see here in a moment, it takes on some characteristics of a perk defense. And here I think black commits a serious error and white doesn't take advantage of it. Okay, here's a great move, E5. It attacks this knight. It's going to have to go somewhere. If it goes to D5, white's going to take it and win a pawn. That leaves G4 and E8. Let's look at G4. But now white has this fine move, E6. And getting ready to take down here with check. And it's totally protected. Or attacking a knight. Black can't occupy the E5 square. Knight takes E3 is met with his Wissenszug. And black can't play pawn takes because bishop takes check, picks up this knight. So that leaves knight E8. Whoop, back this up one more. That leaves knight E8. But white's still going to do this. Okay? And no matter how you slice it, if pawn takes, bishop takes, black's pawn structure is a little ruined. Now, it's true white has an isolated queen pawn also, but I don't know. Black just seems to be in an unnatural formation here, and white's got some definite immediate attacking chances. This threatens to win the exchange. Knight F7 check. How are you going to prevent it? The answer is you're not. Okay. So Oh, let's see, knight d6. Okay. I don't know. This just looks terrific for white. Uh, Black is not getting anything close to the type of position he was probably aiming for. White could maybe play d5. This opens up this square, so white can occupy it with a bishop. This bishop isn't doing him all that much. Possibly get rid of this valuable defender. Rid white of his isolated queen pawn, leaving black with a bad pawn. Another possibility, just retreat this bishop. Okay, that clears the e6 square for the knight to go to. Black stopped f7. Now he's got to stop e6. That means move the queen, move the rook, or move this knight on d7 so that you can chop the knight off if it lands on e6. It's just not an enviable task for black to have to defend this position. You can still be playing d5. So I think white missed a better line there, but his move is still fine. White does enjoy a nice space advantage. Castled, all four minors and queen developed. Rooks are connected. Black is lagging on the queen side. So he counters b5. Bishop comes back. So black gains a little bit of space, but that's still not helping his development. And white backs up a little bit. But he's not playing for e5. He never does, actually. But black's kind of catching up in development, but white still has a little space advantage. Now, I guess the idea here is to drop the knight into c4. So b3 is the first move that strikes me. Although, well, white can just take it and give black some pretty crummy pawns. Okay, so a3. Now this creates weaknesses on b3, but black's in no position to take advantage of that. Okay. Now, black's being a little ambitious here. This pawn is getting a little too far advanced. It could become a target here pretty easily. And after a simple exchange of pawns, and now the queen goes back again, back where she started. So she's come out twice and gone back home twice. And, white still enjoys the space advantage. The one weak square in the white position is e4. The queen is tied down to guarding it. Tempo, thank you. White's just getting a huge advantage now. Another tempo. And clear the c file. White will happily make that trade. Simply because the pressure he has in this position. And now more pressure attacking the advanced pawn on b4. And black just decides to jettison it. It was too much to cover. So white theoretically now is a strategically winning game, and this pawn on c6 is still under fire. White's going to gang up on it. Black tries to activate his position in some way, shape, or form, but it's just not going to happen. Now pressure on e4, tempo on the queen, and there's nothing holding c6. There it goes. And here I think white kind of started missing the best way to continue. We'll see when we get there. Okay, rook c7. Okay, I think it was wrong to advance this pawn. The pawn white wants to advance is the d pawn, but you can't yet because of the pin. So the bishop's a little loose here. It's only protected by the queen, but we can get that bishop to safety. How about a nice safe square like d5? What's that do? Well, black can't play rook a7. He's going to drop his rook. Okay, so that kind of Well, wow. What am I missing here? Am I missing a trick? Let's see. Bishop B7 drops a piece. Rook A7 drops a rook. Like, certainly couldn't be this easy, could it? Maybe you have to counter on this rook, okay? That way, if bishop takes, you play rook takes, okay? But this is fine. This plays into White's hand to some degree. Let's go ahead and trade. Now, Queen B3. Well, let's see. We want to go to B3. How about if we go to A? See, B3 attacks F7, but Black has a resource. How about if we just put the queen on A3 and offer a queen trade? Okay. Well, that might not be good. Queen takes, pawn takes, weakens C3. There's a little bit of a fork here. And maybe Black's got some activity for his two pawns, but he's still down two pawns, and White has found a way to simplify into an endgame. You know, there just may not be enough pressure on D4 here. Well, yeah, he can win a pawn back. Bishop takes check. And this might give him some drawing chances. Okay, so, but that's how you find out. You analyze. So Queen A3. Let's see. But there's nothing making making White take that rook on C8. How about if we put the rook here? Okay, now that attacks the queen, and let's see, if Black takes, nothing making him take, but if he takes, White's trying to simplify into ending here. If takes, takes. Now, on the rook, if the rook goes to C8, Black is on the pawn and on the bishop. I mean, well, no, he's not on this pawn yet. Oh, this looks doable for White. This keeps the black rook out of C2. Seems to me like White's cleaning up here. Again, you know, I didn't play the game. I don't know how much time they spent on the game, but it just seems like there's moves that they seem natural to me, but sometimes, you know, what I think might be good isn't good, because, you know, when you spend a lot of time in correspondence chess, you can often find the best moves. So what happened as a result, I mean, there was nothing wrong with E5. It just seemed to be, let's see, where's the divergence? Yeah, okay, here it is. Okay, E5. It just seemed that White got a little awkward ends up a little awkward with his pawns, as we'll see. Okay. Now he played bishop D5, but there's a difference. Let's see, could White play E5 here? He played D5. That attacks the queen. This is an interesting move. Bishop takes, but queen takes, battens down the hatches on E3. Yeah, this D5. Where's Black put his queen? Oh, he takes on B3. Sorry. Okay. So, bishop, not D5, bishop D5. Okay, now we see something similar. He did get a set of rooks off, and keeps B3 safe and secure. Can advance later. Okay. And here, I think what White should strive for eventually is D5. But he can't just yet, and he guards it. And He still can't yet, but I think white should try to play for it. Maybe it's easier said than done. See, right now white's tied down to guarding c4. Black is pressuring it. Well, it just seemed a little odd. Let's see now. Yeah, that's good. He can't take the pawn because of back rank tricks. Queen takes, rook check on a8, bishop back, then bishop h6. This is thematic. Here, I'll run through it in case you're new to chess. These are thematic things that I see in an instant only because I was exposed to these years ago. It's all pretty forcing, and bishop h6 is a killer. Mate is threatening, pretty much can't be avoided. Black can get some nuisance checks with his rook, and white will just ignore taking it because black can't stop mate. So rook a1 is a good move. And the queen goes back to c6. Now the threat's still there. What if... Well, you can't play d5 now. I want to play d5 now, but you can't. Okay, so we'll see what he does. Rook a5 still can't take on c4. White's trying to play rook c5. h5. Now rook c5 gets the rooks off. But I think white should still play for d5. And the way to do that is just put the queen on d3 and try to go their next move. Black will try to prevent it, but let's see. As white plays c5, and it just seemed ugly getting pawns on the bishop, color of the bishop. Queen here. Now you can't. No, you can do it. You can play d5 right now. Well, not yet. No, not yet. e5's hanging. We'll get it in soon enough. Black just can't prevent it. And then the pawns are much more mobile. c5 just got on the color of the bishop, and you know, this second extra pawn of white's isn't all that useful. So it still wins. Black is pretty much helpless. It's just a little, I think, just required a little more work on white's part, and the rest really doesn't bear much comment. Black had a mate in one thread if you didn't see it. Queen e1 check. Always look for tricks like that. You never know. You might get lucky. White makes some room for his king. And, you know, here he's having to maneuver his bishop around a little bit, and then queen finds the pawn blocked. So he's got to find a way to get that queen out of there, and he does. He's going to go off for queen trades here in a second. But still, you know, it would have been better to have gotten d5 in. See, we're just kind of zigzagging back and forth here. Not much progress. Now, finally, queen b6. Be gone, queen. And now the pawn is off and running, and game over. All right, well, not perfect, but none of us play perfectly. And thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video. Take care.